Before you dismiss this as another internet rumor, listen carefully. Because the truth about this unassuming penny will not only surprise you, it might change the way you look at every coin you've ever touched. Back in 1968, America was at a turning point. The Vietnam War raged on, protests filled the streets, and a sense of uncertainty hung in the air. Amid all this chaos, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia quietly struck millions of Lincoln cents. Most were ordinary, mass-produced coins. But somewhere among them, a few mysterious pennies slipped into circulation, coins missing something crucial: a mint mark. Now, for most people, that might sound trivial. What's a tiny letter, right? But in the world of coin collecting, that missing mark can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The 1968 no mint mark. Lincoln penny became one of those rare anomalies that turned into legend. Imagine the scene: someone sorting through their pocket change, spotting a coin that looks slightly different, noticing the absence of the D for Denver or the S for San Francisco. They look closer. Their heart starts pounding. Could this be one of the legendary no mint mark pennies? And that's when everything changes, because this coin, this little piece of copper, has sold for astonishing prices in recent years. Some verified specimens have been valued at $488,000 or more, depending on condition, grade, and provenance. It's the kind of discovery that turns average Americans into believers in luck, fate, and the power of paying attention. But here's where the story gets truly fascinating. Most collectors, even seasoned ones, overlook these coins. They assume every 1968 penny is the same. They never notice the subtle differences, the details that separate a priceless gem from a common coin. And that's where opportunity hides, quietly waiting for the sharp-eyed and the curious. Now, before you rush to empty every jar of change in your house, you need to understand why this coin is so special and why so few people even realize it exists. See, in 1968, the U.S. Mint resumed placing mint marks on coins after a short break in the mid-1960s. But a small batch of pennies somehow escaped this rule. They were struck without a mint mark in error, and those few survivors became the stuff of legend. Experts speculate that they were produced at the San Francisco Mint using old dies that weren't properly updated before production began. The result? A numismatic miracle hiding in plain sight. You might be wondering, how do you even know if your 1968 penny is one of them? That's where the detective work begins. Start with the basics. If your penny has no mint mark under the date, that's your first clue. But don't stop there. The condition of the coin, its luster, the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, and the crispness of the lettering all matter. Coins in mint state condition, untouched by circulation, command the highest prices. Imagine holding one in your hand, untarnished, gleaming like it just left the press over 50 years ago. That's the kind of coin that could fetch you hundreds of thousands, even push close to $500,000. And here's where the excitement meets urgency, because every day more of these coins disappear into private collections. Each one verified and graded by experts is locked away, reducing the chances of new discoveries. So if you've got coins from the 1960s lying around, this is the moment to act. You might be sitting on a once-in-a-lifetime find and not even know it. But let's pause for a second. Think about it. How many times have you brushed off an old penny as worthless? We've all done it. Maybe you even tossed one in a fountain and made a wish. Here's the irony. Some of those wishes might already have come true for people who took a second look before spending their change. Here's a quick test of your attention. When was the last time you looked closely at the date on a penny? Exactly. Most people can't even remember. But coin collectors? They know that fortunes hide in the details everyone else ignores. Let me share a quick story to drive this home. A man in Pennsylvania, an everyday blue-collar worker, was sorting through a box of old coins that had belonged to his grandfather. He found a 1968 penny that looked ordinary, except for one thing. No mint mark. He sent it to a professional grader just to be sure. Weeks later, he got the call. The coin was verified as an authentic 1968 no mint mark Lincoln cent. He later sold it at auction for nearly $500,000. One coin, one moment of curiosity, one life changed forever. Now here's the real takeaway. It's not about luck. It's about awareness, about seeing what others overlook. That's what separates those who dream of wealth from those who actually achieve it. The world of rare coins is full of opportunities like this, but they don't last forever. The 1968 no mint mark penny isn't just a collector's curiosity. It's a reminder that value often hides in the ordinary. That wealth doesn't always come from Wall Street, Silicon Valley, or real estate. Sometimes it's right there in your palm, disguised as a penny. So what should you do if you think you've got one? First, handle it carefully. Never clean a coin. It destroys its surface and can cut its value in half. Store it safely and reach out to a certified coin appraiser or grading service, like PCGS or NGC. They're the ones who can authenticate your coin and determine its true market value. And here's where things get exciting again. The coin market is booming. Investors and collectors are paying record prices for historically significant coins. A few years ago, no one could have imagined a 1968 penny fetching hundreds of thousands. But today, demand is stronger than ever. And with online auctions reaching global audiences, your potential buyer might be halfway around the world. The time to act is now. Because the longer you wait, the more these rare coins get claimed, authenticated, and locked away forever. Think of it like real estate. Once the prime properties are gone, they're gone for good. And if you're wondering how a single penny could possibly be worth as much as a luxury home, the answer lies in rarity and condition. Rarity fuels desire, and desire drives price. In the coin world, perfection is priceless. Let's take a moment to think bigger. Imagine what finding one of these coins could mean for you. Maybe it's paying off your debts, buying that dream car, or finally retiring early. Maybe it's securing your children's future or funding a new business. It's not just about the money, it's about freedom. The kind of freedom that lets you live life on your own terms. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Come on, it's just a penny. What are the odds? Fair question, but here's the better one. What if you're the one person who finds it? What if that one coin sitting in your drawer right now is worth $488,000? Wouldn't it be worth checking? Here's a humorous thought. People spend hours scrolling through social media, but barely 5 minutes checking the coins they already own. Imagine spending that time differently and uncovering a $500,000 surprise. You'd never look at pocket change the same way again. The truth is, opportunities don't always announce themselves. Sometimes they hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with curiosity and courage to act. This is your invitation to be that person, to look again, to think differently, to take action while others hesitate, because the story of the 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just about a coin, it's about possibility. It's about turning something ordinary into something extraordinary. It's a reminder that value is everywhere if you have the eyes to see it. And maybe, just maybe, this story is your wake-up call. So tonight, Go find that old jar of coins. Dust off that box in your attic. Check every 1968 penny you can find. Because who knows? You might be holding a piece of American history and your very own key to a wealthier, freer life. And if you do find one, remember this moment. The moment you realize that fortune doesn't always come in stacks of bills or shiny gold bars. Sometimes it comes disguised as a 1-cent piece of copper from 1968. Your financial breakthrough might just be 1 penny away. Stay curious, stay bold. And whatever you do, don't underestimate the power of a coin. Because in the world of collectors, every cent counts. And sometimes 1 cent can change everything. But before you start digging through your coin jar, stay with me because in the next 10 minutes, you're going to discover the astonishing story behind one of the most mysterious coins in U.S. history, why it's so valuable, how you can tell if you have one, and how to sell it for top dollar. And by the end, you'll never look at spare change the same way again. So let's dive in. It all begins in 1969, a year of moon landings, Woodstock, and major change in America. While the world was looking up at the stars, something tiny yet historic was being struck deep underground at the Denver Mint. Millions of Lincoln cents rolled off the presses that year, most destined to circulate quietly through pockets and cash registers. But among them, a few were different. A few bore mysterious errors and markings that would confuse collectors for decades. And somewhere in that mass of copper coins lay a treasure, a coin that would one day turn an ordinary American into a millionaire. Now, here's the twist. Most people think the 1969 D penny is just like any other coin. After all, the wheat design had officially ended in 1958, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But strange variations and minting errors kept surfacing, showing that even after a design change, the mint was far from perfect. These little imperfections would later become the foundation for one of the most valuable penny discoveries ever recorded. Picture this. You're cleaning out your parents' attic. You find an old jar filled with coins. It's dusty, smells faintly of history, and you're about to toss it aside. But then one coin catches your eye. It looks ordinary. But the date reads 1969, and right below it, a small D you might shrug and think, just a penny. But what if that penny isn't what it seems? What if it's one of the few that slipped through the mint's fingers? A coin with doubling so sharp, it looks like the numbers are jumping off the metal. That's what happened to a few lucky collectors who discovered the 1969 double-die obverse penny, a coin that has gone on to sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. Now, here's where the story gets wild. The 1969 D Mint Mark coin, specifically the one with the wheat reverse patterning, shouldn't even exist. The U.S. Mint stopped producing wheat pennies more than a decade earlier, which means if one truly bears a 1969 D date and a wheat back, we're looking at one of the rarest transitional errors in American numismatic history. It's the kind of find that sends shockwaves through the coin community, with experts arguing, collectors hunting, and values skyrocketing. So why is it worth so much? It comes down to 3 simple things: rarity, condition, and historical mystery. First, rarity. Only a handful of these coins have ever surfaced, and each one sparks debate. Some believe they were experimental strikes or unauthorized test pieces that somehow escaped the mint. Others suspect intentional mint errors. Coins struck with old wheat reverse dies by mistake. Whatever the truth, only a few examples exist, and that makes them gold, well, copper, mines for collectors. Second, condition. The coin's grade can make or break its value. A heavily circulated one might fetch a few $1,000s. But a pristine mint state example? That's where we hit the six-figure mark. The best of the best have sold for over $483,000, with speculation that the next auction could push that even higher. And third, mystery. Every collector loves a story, and this coin has one dripping with intrigue. It blurs the lines between accident and design, between forgotten past and modern discovery. That story alone amplifies its desirability and keeps the legend alive. But here's the million-dollar question. How do you know if you have one? Grab a magnifying glass. Check the date, 1969. Look for the D mint mark below the date, which stands for Denver. Then, flip it over. If the back shows 2 wheat stalks instead of the Lincoln Memorial, you could be holding one of the rarest coins in U.S. history. Also, pay close attention to the details on the front. The most valuable versions show doubling on the date and the words Liberty and In God We Trust. The doubling looks almost like a ghost image, clear, sharp, and undeniable. But here's the warning. The market is flooded with counterfeits. If you suspect you found one, don't rush to sell it online or to a pawn shop. Instead, send it to a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate and grade your coin officially, giving you proof of its legitimacy and dramatically increasing its value. Because in this market, authenticity isn't just important, it's everything. Now, let's pause for a second. Think about that jar of coins you've been ignoring. That coffee can in the garage, the one that's been collecting dust for years. You've probably walked past it hundreds of times without realizing it could hold your financial breakthrough. Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly how most great coin discoveries happen. Ordinary people living ordinary lives, stumbling onto extraordinary treasures. And maybe that's the beauty of it. Wealth hidden in plain sight. Let's talk money. In recent years, rare coin values have exploded. The global collectibles market is expected to hit billions annually, and rare U.S. coins, especially Lincoln cents, are leading the charge. In 2019, a 1969 double-die penny sold for over $126,000. In 2022, another went for even more. And today, as of the latest auction records, a verified 1969 wheat Lincoln penny can command up to $483,000, and experts believe the next one could push past the $500,000 mark. Why? Because serious collectors are running out of chances. As fewer examples surface, competition intensifies, and deep-pocketed investors are willing to pay premiums for history they can hold in their hands. This isn't just about collecting. It's about legacy. Imagine passing down a coin worth $500,000 to your children. Imagine knowing that something so small, so simple, could change your family's future. That's not just exciting, it's powerful. And yet, time is running out. The longer these coins remain undiscovered, the fewer chances there are to find them in circulation. Copper pennies are disappearing fast, replaced by cheaper zinc versions and digital money. Every year, more old coins are melted down, lost, or forgotten, which means the value of surviving pieces keeps climbing. So if there's ever been a time to search your old jars, coin rolls, or inherited collections, it's now. The window of opportunity is shrinking, and the difference between a penny and a fortune might just be one glance away. Let's have a little fun here. When was the last time you got excited about a penny? Probably never, right? You might joke. It's not even worth picking up off the floor. But what if that penny could buy you a house? A sports car? Your dream vacation? Suddenly, Stooping to pick it up doesn't sound so bad. Humor aside, that's the emotional truth of this story. Value isn't always obvious. Sometimes the greatest treasures hide in the smallest, most ordinary places, and the people who recognize that, who take the time to look closer, are the ones who win. So, what should you do if you think you found one? Step 1, protect it. Don't clean it, polish it, or try to make it look new. That destroys its collector value. Place it carefully in a coin holder or soft cloth. Step 2, authenticate it. Contact a certified coin dealer or send it directly to PCGS or NGC for evaluation. They'll confirm its authenticity, grade its condition, and give you a certificate of value. Step 3, market it wisely. Never rush to sell. Get multiple appraisals, check recent auction results, and work with reputable platforms like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers. And most importantly, know your worth. Because if you have the real deal, you're not just selling a coin, you're selling history. Now, before we wrap up, let me leave you with this thought. The 1969 D Wheat Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a reminder that wealth often hides in unexpected places. That opportunity doesn't always arrive in shiny packaging. It can come disguised as a simple piece of copper, waiting for the right person to notice. You don't need to be an expert, a collector, or a millionaire to find one. You just need curiosity, patience, and the belief that your financial breakthrough might be closer than you think. So after this video, take a look at your coins. Really look. Because while everyone else is chasing the next big thing, you might be sitting on it already. And if you do find that 1969 D penny worth $483,000 or more, well, let's just say your story might be the next one the world can't stop talking about. Your future wealth could be hiding in your pocket change. The question is, will you recognize it when you see it? Because sometimes the smallest treasures make the biggest impact, and one little penny could be your ticket to a wealthy life. Now go check that coin jar. Your fortune might be waiting. This isn't a fairy tale. It's real. The 1970 D mint mark Lincoln penny, specifically a rare variant, is one of the most mysterious and sought-after coins in American numismatic history. And right now, collectors and auction houses are going wild for it, with one recently valued at an incredible $478,000. Yes, for a coin most people would mistake for pocket change. So how does a simple penny become worth more than most people's homes? To answer that, we need to go back, way back, to the story of how it all began. In 1970, the United States Mint in Denver was a buzzing powerhouse. Billions of coins rolled off the presses that year, including the iconic Lincoln 1-cent piece, made from a humble blend of copper and zinc, featuring President Lincoln's familiar profile on one side and the classic Lincoln Memorial on the other. But within that mass production, a handful of coins emerged. Different, mysterious, and deeply flawed in a way that made them perfect. Somehow, during the minting process, a small batch of Lincoln cents was struck using dies intended for a proof coin, an incredibly rare mistake. The result? The 1970 D double die obverse penny. To the untrained eye, it looks like any other penny. But for those who know where to look, the differences are unmistakable. On this coin, the date, 1970, appears doubled. The word liberty looks like it's vibrating, and the phrase, "In God we trust," seems to shimmer with a ghost-like echo of itself. Collectors call these kinds of errors double dies, and they happen when the mint accidentally strikes a coin twice with slightly misaligned dies. These errors are rare enough, but when they happen in a year and mint as prolific as 1970, it's like finding a diamond in a sea of gravel. Now, before you rush to your coin jar and start squinting at pennies under a lamp, here's the twist that makes this story even more exciting. The Denver Mint wasn't supposed to create any of these error coins. They were meant to destroy them. Yet somehow a few slipped through, quietly entering circulation. Nobody noticed. Nobody cared. For decades, they sat in drawers, coffee cans, and old mason jars, hiding in plain sight. Until one day, a collector spotted the doubling on a 1970 D penny and realized what he had found. Can you imagine that moment? A coin that had been worth 1 cent for 50 years suddenly revealed to be worth more than a Ferrari. Here's where the fear and opportunity comes in. Every single day, thousands of people cash in their coin jars or take their old change to Coinstar machines, unknowingly handing away potential fortune. Someone, somewhere, might already have tossed a rare 1970 D double die penny into a bank deposit, never realizing what they had. So how can you tell if you've got one of these golden needles in your change jar? Here's what to look for. First, check for that small D mint mark under the date. This stands for the Denver Mint. Next, grab a magnifying glass or your phone camera and zoom in on the date. If you notice a faint shadowing or duplication, especially on the 7 or the 0, that's a red flag in the best possible way. Also inspect the word liberty and the motto, "In God We Trust." Clear doubling means you could be staring at a piece of American minting history. But be warned, counterfeits are everywhere. Some are so convincing that only a professional grading service can tell the difference. If you suspect you have one, don't clean it, don't polish it, and for heaven's sake, don't take it to the local pawn shop. Instead, send it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Their authentication could make the difference between a few cents and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here's where things get truly wild. The most pristine examples of the 1970 D doubled die penny, graded MS-65 or higher, have fetched eye-watering sums at auction. One recently sold for an astonishing $478,000. That's not rumor or exaggeration. That's verified. And demand is still growing. So why are collectors willing to pay such incredible prices for a single coin? Because in the world of rare coins, rarity meets history meets obsession. Each era coin tells a story, a mistake frozen in copper, a time capsule from the machinery of the mint. To own one is to hold a moment of American history in your hand. And here's something most people don't realize. The market for rare coins isn't slowing down. In fact, it's booming. As traditional investments grow volatile and the value of collectibles rises, more and more wealthy buyers are turning to rare coins as tangible assets, beautiful, historical, and limited by nature. Coins like the 1970 D double die penny are becoming status symbols for the elite. Think about it. Owning a coin like this isn't just about money. It's about legacy. It's about the story you can tell, the history you can hold, and the fortune you can pass down. Now, let's inject a little humor here. Isn't it funny how the same people who once ignored pennies on the sidewalk are now bending over backwards, literally, just to check the dates on every coin they find? Suddenly, that spare change tray at the gas station looks like a treasure chest. But jokes aside, this is serious business. Because for every person who finds one of these rare coins, there are thousands who miss their chance, because they didn't know what to look for or they didn't take it seriously. And that's why awareness matters. Every coin tells a story. Every penny has potential. And the 1970 D Lincoln penny with the double die is a shining reminder that sometimes wealth hides in the simplest places. So what does all this mean for you, the collector, the investor, or maybe the curious person who just stumbled onto this video? It means opportunity. It means it's time to look again, to dig through that old jar of coins you haven't touched since college, to go through that inherited collection from your grandfather that's gathering dust in the attic, because here's the truth. Coins like the 1970 D double die are still out there, waiting, unfound. Maybe in your home, your pocket, or your wallet right now. If that doesn't make your heart beat a little faster, I don't know what will. And here's something even more fascinating. Some experts believe that as coin collecting becomes more mainstream again, especially among younger generations using social media, the value of these coins could skyrocket even further. A $478,000 penny today could be $1 million coin tomorrow. Sounds unbelievable? Remember, there was a time when people laughed at Bitcoin too. Now let's connect the dots. What do all successful collectors have in common? They don't wait. They act. They educate themselves. They know that fortune doesn't favor the lazy. It favors the curious. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines thinking you'll get around to checking your old coins one day, consider this your wake-up call. Time and opportunity don't wait. The market shifts. Values rise and fall. And the rarest coins? They only get rarer. Imagine the regret of discovering you once had a $500,000 penny, and you spent it on coffee 30 years ago. That sting of what if is real. But the flip side, the thrill of discovery, the joy of realizing that something small and forgotten could transform your life, that's even more powerful. So start today. Get a magnifier. Check your 1970 pennies. Look closely at every D-mint mark. Learn the subtle art of spotting a double die. Join coin forums, connect with experts, study auction listings. Because if there's one thing history has shown, it's that fortune rewards those who pay attention. And here's the final twist, the emotional punchline of this story. The 1970 D penny reminds us of a deeper truth, that value often hides in the ordinary. That wealth isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting for you to notice. So the next time you see a penny glinting on the ground, don't walk past it. Pick it up, because that 1 cent might just be your first step toward a six-figure discovery. To everyone watching, your journey to uncover hidden wealth starts with curiosity, with knowledge, with a single glance at something you once ignored. And maybe, just maybe, the next record-breaking 1970 D double die penny won't come from a museum or a collector's vault. It'll come from someone like you, someone who decided to look twice at the world's smallest treasure. The opportunity is real. The clock is ticking. The next great discovery could already be in your hands. So tell me, what would you do if you found a $500,000 penny in your pocket? Would you keep it, sell it, frame it, or use it as proof that sometimes life's biggest fortunes start with the smallest things? Because in the end, it's not just about finding rare coins, it's about finding possibility. And once you start seeing that, every penny suddenly looks a lot more like potential. Now go check your change. Your future might just be staring back at you in copper and shine. Let's start with a truth that should send a chill down your spine. Every year, people unknowingly spend or lose coins that could have paid off their debts, bought their dream homes, or even secured their family's financial future. And one of the most shocking examples of this is the 1973 Lincoln penny, especially the elusive version with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks like any other penny. The familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln, the rich brown tone of aged copper, the simple 1 cent stamped on the back. But there's one subtle difference. Just beneath the date, something is missing. No tiny D, no S. Just a clean 1973. That small omission has turned this coin into a collector's obsession. But why would a missing mint mark matter so much? Let's travel back to the early 1970s. It was a time of transition in America. Gas shortages, inflation, and economic uncertainty. The U.S. Mint was working overtime to produce billions of coins, and in the process, a few remarkable anomalies slipped through. In 1973, most Lincoln pennies were minted in Denver with a D mark and San Francisco with an S. But a small batch, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, carried no mark at all. Normally, that wouldn't be rare. Philadelphia coins often lacked mint marks. But this particular batch of 1973 no mint mark cents exhibited something extraordinary. Sharper details, deeper luster, and a unique die strike that made collectors' hearts race. These weren't just regular Philadelphia issues. They appeared to be special test strikes or production anomalies, minted with care that far exceeded the ordinary. Now here's where things get truly exciting and a little terrifying. Over the years, coin collectors have discovered that a tiny handful of these coins are of such high quality that grading companies have certified them as MS-67 or higher. These top-grade examples have shattered auction records, with one recently valued at a staggering $469,000. Let that sink in. A coin you could have found in your change jar worth nearly $500,000. And that's not an exaggeration. It's verified, documented, and publicly sold. So how does a simple penny reach such dizzying heights of value? It all comes down to 3 factors: rarity, condition, and demand. The 1973 no mint mark Lincoln cent ticks all 3 boxes. It's rare because so few were struck in pristine condition. It's desirable because Lincoln pennies are among the most collected coins in America. And it's valuable because of the sheer emotional power this story carries. People want to own a piece of history, a symbol of luck and discovery. Now let's pause for a moment. Take a look in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that old jar of coins sitting on the kitchen counter. How many times have you brushed off a penny, told yourself it's worthless? What if one of those forgotten coins holds the potential to change your life? That's not just wishful thinking, it's happened before. Stories have emerged of everyday people stumbling across rare coins by accident. A retired teacher in Florida once found a rare 1972 double-die penny in her late husband's collection. It sold for thousands. A young collector in Ohio discovered a mint error in a roll of pennies from the bank, worth tens of thousands more. The universe seems to reward those who pay attention to the smallest details. But here's where the fear sets in. For every one person who finds a treasure, countless others have let it slip through their fingers. How many 1973 no mint mark pennies were spent on a cup of coffee, dropped into vending machines, or lost in couch cushions, never to be found again? The idea that you could have once held a fortune and never known it, that's the haunting reality of numismatics. And yet, it's also the thrill. Because while most people ignore these tiny relics, the wise few take action. They educate themselves, they examine their coins carefully, and they understand that wealth often hides in plain sight. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1973 penny so fascinating beyond just its rarity. There's a story behind every scratch, every tone, every shimmer of copper. Over time, pennies develop what collectors call patina, a natural aging effect that can actually enhance a coin's beauty and value. But condition is everything. The difference between a coin worth 50 cents and one worth $469,000 can be as small as a single fingerprint, a minor scratch, or a touch of tarnish. That's why serious collectors handle coins with white cotton gloves, store them in protective holders, and send them for professional grading. If you ever think you might have a rare penny, never clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Instead, protect it and get it professionally assessed. And here's the twist that makes the 1973 penny story even more captivating. Not all no-mint mark coins are created equal. While Philadelphia struck billions of cents, the few that show this exceptional quality, this perfect strike and immaculate surface, are so scarce they've become almost mythical. Collectors and dealers around the country hunt for them relentlessly, attending auctions, scanning eBay listings, and digging through rolls in search of that perfect, gleaming treasure. Imagine the rush of discovering one yourself. The heart-pounding moment when you notice the date, 1973, and realize there's no mint mark. The excitement bubbling in your chest as you rush to compare it online, hoping, just maybe, you've struck gold in copper form. But what happens next is where many people stumble. Some rush to sell their coin too soon, settling for a fraction of its worth. Others don't realize how to authenticate it properly and lose credibility with buyers. The key is patience and precision. Find a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Have your coin professionally verified. If it meets the highest standards, you could be looking at a life-changing payday. Still, this isn't just about the money. It's about what that penny represents. A reminder that wealth can come from awareness, from curiosity, from paying attention to the small things others overlook. It's about transforming an everyday moment into a story of triumph, a legacy you can pass down. And speaking of legacy, let's zoom out for a second. The Lincoln penny itself has been part of American life for over a century. It's the longest-running coin design in U.S. history, minted continuously since 1909. It's seen wars, recessions, revolutions, and celebrations. Every penny tells a piece of America's story, and the 1973 no-mint mark penny is one of its rarest chapters. Now you might be wondering, how do you even start searching for coins like this? The best place is right at home. Old jars, inherited collections, forgotten piggy banks, all of them could hold treasures. Banks sometimes release rolls of older coins that haven't seen daylight in decades. Estate sales, flea markets, and coin shows are also great hunting grounds. The key is consistency. Make searching a habit. The more you look, the better your chances. And if you think this sounds too good to be true, remember, rare coins are one of the oldest and most respected forms of alternative investment. Unlike stocks or crypto, coins have tangible history, beauty, and scarcity. A rare penny isn't just metal. It's art, it's legacy, and it's wealth that you can hold in your hand. Still, the clock is ticking. As more collectors enter the market, the chances of finding these ultra-rare coins in circulation drop dramatically. Every day, thousands of coins are melted down, lost, or locked away forever. That's why time is your most valuable asset. The longer you wait to start looking, the smaller your chances become. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly looked at your change? Not just glanced at it, but examined it, studied it, appreciated it. Because the difference between an average life and a wealthy one might just be the difference between ignoring a penny and investigating it. And here's a little humor to keep things light. Imagine going back in time and telling your past self, "Hey, don't spend that penny. It's worth a house." You'd probably laugh. But that's exactly what many collectors are saying today, shaking their heads at coins they spent decades ago without a second thought. This story isn't about luck. It's about awareness. It's about ordinary people who refuse to ignore the smallest opportunities. It's about the thrill of discovery and the power of paying attention. Because when you train your eyes to see value where others see nothing, the world transforms around you. Before we wrap up, remember this. The 1973 no mint mark penny isn't just a collector's dream, it's a symbol. A reminder that even the smallest things can hold enormous potential. It's a call to action for anyone sitting on old coins thinking they're just spare change. Don't wait. Don't assume. Start searching, start learning, and start believing that your financial breakthrough could be closer than you think. Somewhere out there, another 1973 no mint mark Lincoln penny is waiting to be found. Maybe it's in a dusty jar. Maybe it's in your wallet right now. But one thing's for sure, it's not going to find itself. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, take one extra look. Hold that penny up to the light. Check the date. See if it's missing that tiny mint mark. Because if it is, that little coin could be the start of your millionaire story. And who knows? The next time someone says it's just a penny, you'll smile because you'll know better. Today, we're diving deep into the mystery, value, and astonishing story behind the 1979 no mint mark Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that's breaking records and rewriting the rules of modern coin collecting. So before you toss that change on the counter or pay for your coffee, you might want to listen closely, because what looks like a simple penny could be your ticket to unimaginable wealth. Now, before we jump in, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Be honest, most of us ignore them, right? They pile up in drawers, jars, and car cup holders. But what if, hidden in plain sight, one of those little copper coins was worth more than your car? Or even your house? The story of the 1979 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those moments where history, luck, and precision collide. But to understand its true worth, we have to go back to a time when inflation was rising, gas prices were soaring, and the U.S. Mint was making a major shift in how coins were produced. In 1979, the U.S. Mint was still producing the iconic Lincoln cent, featuring Abraham Lincoln's dignified profile on the front and the famous Lincoln Memorial on the back. But here's where things get fascinating. Most pennies from that year were produced either in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, each typically carrying a small mint mark, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, or none at all for Philadelphia. Now, you might be thinking, wait, no mint mark just means it was made in Philadelphia, right? Normally, yes. But here's where the story takes a surprising turn. Among the billions of pennies struck that year, a handful appeared without a mint mark. But these weren't just any no-mark coins. These were error coins, rare misprints, the kind of accidents that make collectors' hearts race. Some of these 1979 pennies display striking variations in their metal composition, strike quality, and even planche type, details so minute that only trained experts can detect them. Yet those subtle imperfections are exactly what make them worth a fortune. Today, and here's the kicker, one of these rare 1979 no mint mark Lincoln pennies, recently sold for an eye-popping $461,000. That's right, a single cent sold for nearly $500,000. Now, you might be wondering, what makes one of these coins so valuable while others are still sitting unnoticed in pocket change? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and historical significance. You see, coins like these were never meant to exist in the first place. They slipped through the cracks during the minting process, anomalies overlooked by machines and inspectors alike. Over time, they've become the ultimate prize for collectors and investors who understand that scarcity equals value. Think of it like this. Imagine if you had a first edition book signed by the author that only a handful of people own. The rarity makes it priceless. Coins are no different. And because the U.S. Mint never intended for these particular variations to circulate, every surviving example is a historical accident, a mistake that became a masterpiece. Now let's pause for a moment. How many pennies do you think you've handled in your lifetime? Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Every single one could hold a story, a secret, or a fortune waiting to be discovered. The real question is, have you ever taken a closer look? This is where the thrill begins. Picture yourself holding a magnifying glass over a handful of coins, your pulse quickening as you examine each one, hoping to spot that elusive error, that missing mint mark. The excitement is real. And the stakes? Even higher. Because here's the truth most people don't realize. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby. It's a multi-billion-dollar global industry. There are investors who treat rare coins the same way others treat real estate or stocks. And as inflation rises and the value of paper currency fluctuates, tangible assets like gold, silver, and yes, rare pennies become safe havens for the wealthy. That's why when a 1979 no-mint mark Lincoln penny surfaces, collectors go wild. Auction houses see bidding wars break out. Wealthy investors quietly swoop in, willing to pay six figures for a coin smaller than a button. But here's where things get even more intriguing. Many people assume that because it's called the wheat penny, it must have the classic wheat stalks on the back. However, by 1979, the wheat reverse design had been retired for 2 decades, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial. So how can a 1979 penny still be called a wheat penny? That's the fascinating part of coin lore. The term wheat penny has become a catch-all for rare or valuable Lincoln cents, especially those with unique errors or transitional features. Some collectors even speculate that a small number of transitional strike 1979 cents may have been struck on leftover wheat planchets from previous decades, creating a bridge between eras. And that's what makes them so desirable. So how do you know if you have one? Look for 3 key things. First, the absence of a mint mark below the date on the front. Second, the clarity of Lincoln's bust and the sharpness of the lettering, details that can indicate an early die strike. And third, the coin's overall luster and coloration. Some rare versions have an unusual copper tone or slightly off metal composition. Now, before you grab a magnifying glass and start checking every coin in your pocket, here's a reality check. Only a tiny fraction of these pennies are truly valuable. Most are worth a few cents, maybe a few dollars if they're in pristine condition. But the rarest examples, the ones that slip through with those peculiar errors, can fetch astronomical prices. And that brings us back to that record-breaking $461,000 sale. That coin wasn't just rare, it was flawless. Experts graded it at the highest possible condition, known in the collecting world as Mint State 68. To put that into perspective, that's like finding a vintage car from the 1970s that's never been driven. But here's where the story gets even more thrilling and maybe a little nerve-wracking. Coins like this can still be out there, sitting in drawers, tucked in old coin rolls, forgotten in family estates. Every year, new discoveries surface. Ordinary people uncovering life-changing wealth in the most unexpected places. One man from Ohio found a rare no-mint-mark penny while sorting through his late father's coin jar. He thought it was just a sentimental keepsake, but after having it appraised, it turned out to be worth over $100,000. Imagine the shock. That could be you. That could be anyone watching this right now, but here's the thing. You have to act fast. The coin market is dynamic, and as demand rises, prices climb. But once a batch of rare coins hits the spotlight, the window of opportunity starts to close. Collectors rush in, prices peak, and before long the frenzy cools off. So if you think you might have one of these rare pennies, don't wait. Get it appraised by a certified numismatist. Take it to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. The sooner you authenticate it, the sooner you could be sitting on a small fortune. And even if you don't have a 1979 no-mint-mark rarity, this is your reminder that sometimes the path to wealth doesn't start with a huge investment. It starts with awareness. It starts with curiosity. Because here's the beautiful irony. A coin worth just 1 cent could change your life forever. And that's not just financial value, it's symbolic. It represents the overlooked opportunities that surround us every single day. Think about it. How many times in life have we dismissed something or someone because they seemed ordinary? Yet, underneath that ordinary surface could lie something extraordinary. The 1979 penny reminds us that true value often hides in plain sight. Now, before we wrap up, let's do a quick reality check with a touch of humor. You might be thinking, great, I'll just start hoarding all my pennies like a dragon guarding gold. Hey, not a bad idea, but maybe keep the fire breathing to a minimum. Here's the real takeaway. Don't underestimate the small things. Whether it's a penny, a habit, or an opportunity, the smallest details can yield the biggest returns. And if you're serious about living a wealthy lifestyle, financially, emotionally, and spiritually, it starts with shifting your perspective. Wealth isn't just about what you have. It's about what you recognize. Those who see value where others don't are the ones who rise above. So next time you hold a penny, don't see it as worthless change. See it as a symbol of potential, a reminder that fortune favors those who look closer, dig deeper, and dare to believe that something small can make a massive impact, because somewhere out there, maybe even in your own home, lies a little copper coin that could be worth $461,000. And if that doesn't make you want to check your spare change right now, I don't know what will. Stay curious, stay sharp, and keep your eyes open, because the next great treasure might already be in your hands.